Hello, travelers, and welcome to another episode of Travel Voice Notes with me, Charlie, from charlieontravel.com. In this voice note, I'm going to be talking about the Slovenian town of Piran. Now, Piran is a coastal town nestled between Italy and Croatia. It's got a very, very short 47 kilometers of coastline, and it is often overlooked in Slovenia travel itineraries, and I have to admit it was overlooked in ours as well. So let me tell you a little bit about how we ended up in Piran. We travelled to Slovenia in September, and we were expecting the weather to be around 20 to 25 degrees, but real feel it was close to 15 degrees, sometimes as bad as 10. Over at Lake Bled, it was cloudy, it was rainy, it was not the summer season holiday we had intended. So even though we had an amazing time traveling around Slovenia, going to Lake Bled and Bohinj and hiking the Ljubljana trail, we were originally planning to go to the Soccer Valley for kayaking, but the weather was so bad, we decided to head south to Piran instead, because Piran is the warmest spot in Slovenia. So the perfect place to go. And who's going to like Piran? If you liked Venice, but you didn't like the crowds, then you're probably going to adore Piran. It's a much smaller version of Venice, but it's got that Venetian style because it's so close across the waters from Venice. And it's got all of that charm, history, and probably the highlight is it also has nearby Istria, which is an incredibly beautiful spot that I will come to. So Piran itself, there's not a lot to do in Piran. You're going there to wander the old town, climb up the city walls. There's a big main square with a church that's worth seeing. You might be swimming if it's warm enough. And there's plenty of nearby beaches, which are about a 20-minute walk outside of the town. The town itself has little dock areas where you can jump off straight from the side of the town, but no actual beach. And the thing worth knowing is I had the best fresh pasta of my life. Yes, no joke, in Piran. We ate an amazing restaurant called Rossetlin, which is a local Italian restaurant in Piran. And we came across them because as we were wandering around the old town, we saw them making fresh pasta dough in the window adjacent to their restaurant during the morning. And we were like, we have to go there. And the ravioli was insane. Okay, let me come to Istria. So before coming to Piran, I had never heard of Istria, and we were looking for fun things to do for our last day, and we saw a sign for Vespa tours with a company called Rolling Istria, and this is an amazing family-run one-man band company run by a passionate local guy called Dejan, and he's basically curated a really scenic route through all of the quiet back roads, olive groves, vineyards, charming little villages, on a Vespa. So you obviously have to have a driving license to go on a Vespa. So Luke drove us and I went on the back, even though I would have loved to drive my own as well. And if you don't, then Dejan also takes a passenger and he's got some other people that he knows who can also come along and drive you. So you can still enjoy it even if you are not a driver yourself. If you are a driver yourself, then what an opportunity to drive a Vespa in one of the most beautiful places in Europe. So we were driving through all these quiet back roads and we stopped for things like olive oil tasting. We also stopped by a really nice restaurant where we had another pasta. I mean, we're close to Italy, guys. And they grow truffles in this region. So if you love truffles, then fresh truffle pasta is on the menu. And honestly, it was one of the best things we've ever done in Europe. So don't miss it if you do decide to go to Piran. There's a couple of other places near Piran that if you're considering going to a Slovenian beach town, you might be thinking about. So Piran, the main draw is really its charm. It's a cute old town. Accommodation tends to be in older buildings with those really narrow streets that are pretty characteristic of that kind of place. It's a sort of old world ambience. If you are a resort beach kind of girl or guy, you might decide to go over to Portorož, which is the best area for resorts. I would say many of the hotels here are that resort style. There's no old town charm, but there are much better beaches. So it's got a sort of more commercial feel. It's not really my vibe, but it's things like large hotels, casinos, much longer beachfront, and I would say a slightly older demographic of traveller here with a little bit less mobility because getting around is much easier here compared to in Piran. And then there's Izola, which is another small coastal town nearby with the Venetian style architecture. Even smaller and quieter than Piran, with even fewer tourists. And I would say Piran is already fairly quiet. Plenty of sunbathing areas along the waterfront, but again, no beaches. If you want to feel more rural and even more quiet, then Isola is probably the spot to go. If you're in Piran for a couple of days, you can easily take the bus over to Isola also just to see it. And that's pretty much it. So how do we get to Piran? I would say the easiest way is to take the bus. It's a 1.5 hour drive from Ljubljana bus station, and buses go multiple times a day. Or if you're in Trieste in Italy, it's a 40-minute drive from there. I would say, as much as possible, try and take the bus in rather than drive a car there, because Piran's old town is totally car free. Adds to its charm, but makes parking really tricky, which means that visitors have to park outside of the town, take a shuttle in, and it can be pretty expensive. But if you're on the fence about whether to go, I would say for us, Piran was really an unexpectedly enjoyable addition to our Slovenia trip. We only went because we were on the hunt for warmer weather. But if you like to be by the sea and the idea of a Vespa trip into the rolling hills of Istria sounds up your street, then add it to your itinerary.